Oh, look. There it is. That's enough to ruin your day if you don't fix this one funny thing about the FS2 Slalom bike. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're out in the garage of the Ozark Trail FS2 Slalom e-bike that I've put an e-bike motor on. And in this video, we're going to talk about the weakest links of the FS2 Slalom bike. So this will apply to you even if yours isn't an e-bike. So these are kind of like the issues that I ran into first as I was using this bike. A couple minor issues that we're gonna fix in this video. I'll show you right now. Let's go. Okay, so the first thing about this bike is that inside of the tires, the tubes that this bike ships with, or at least mine, yours might be different, but the tubes, the Presta valve tubes that came inside the wheels on this bike when I bought it, the valve cores inside of the valve stem were not removable. And unfortunately, you need, if you want to use flat out tire sealant, that's the tire sealant that I recommend, is flat out quick strike. So I've got the small tire formula is what I want to get in these wheels. But unfortunately, the Presta valves that ship inside of these wheels don't have removable cores, so there's no way to get the sealant in there. So the first thing I'm going to do is in this rear wheel that's still using this Presta valve that doesn't have a removable core, I want to replace it with a Continental MTB tube that has a Presta valve with the removable valve core. So that's what we're going to do first, so that I can get flat out tire sealant into my rear wheel, which is essential for when you're riding on long bike rides. And here's the solution, the Conti MTB tube. So this is probably going to be a better quality tube as well. Alright guys, so I don't have like a... Flat Out does come with this little tool, and it seems like it has two valve core removers on it, and one's for Schrader. I think one, I thought one would be for, the other would be for this Presta, but it's like slightly too small. But what I found here is I can just use a flathead, like a pliers, and if I hold the valve stem steady, I don't let it rotate, and then I use the pliers to loosen this flat part. There's like wrench flats, like right here on this thing, where you can get a flathead. And so I am able to remove, see? So this is a removable Presta valve core. I've never seen one of those before. Interesting. Looks a lot more complicated. This valve core is a lot more complicated than like a Schrader. But what we can do here, now that we got that off, is set that aside for a moment. And let's see here. So I think I'm just gonna pump the flat out in here from the get-go. I'm hoping that this is gonna work. And then so on the flat out, it does seem like I need to twist this on there a little bit more, like this. There we go. Okay. And then so on the flat out bucket, it tells us on the back here, it says MTB 8 to 10 ounces, and each pump of this thing is an ounce. So I'm just gonna get this thing downstream, kind of downhill from the pumper, and we'll start pumping some in there. So we're gonna get it all over our hands as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, and then I always put a little bit extra in there for good measures. 11, 12, and then I take this hose. Let's see here. What I usually do is there's a whole ounce that's still in the tube here, so if I can get it, I'm not gonna waste this last ounce, are we? No. we are going to let it all dribble. Okay, there we go. Messy, I've got a messy, goopy mess. Happens to the best of us sometimes. Oh! Alright, so I've reinflated my rear wheel for the FS2 Slalom. It's got a different Presta tube in there now, and I've got the flat out quick strike tire sealant in the tube. Everything's feeling nice, but I did realize I think my cassette is like coming loose on this thing already. I don't know if something is messed up here or if it's just the cassette lock ring is like loose in the front. I'm gonna try and tighten this thing on there, but it seems like there's a little bit of a wiggle has developed here in my cassette with the gears where they can kind of like shift a little bit. It's like I can hear the cassette like clunking around. I can feel it. So I gotta find my cassette tool and tighten that on there, and hopefully that fixes it. Alright, so I guess here's the moment of truth where we get to see if something is messed up with this rear cassette free hub body or if it's just coming loose, the lock ring. I think it was definitely loose. Let's see here. Yeah, that fixed it. Nice. Now I don't have that clunking anymore. Alright, awesome. So I don't know if they torqued on the cassette lock ring enough. It might have just been the mid-drive, you know, because like the mid-drive puts down a lot of power. But I would say that if you start developing like kind of like a clunkiness, and it feels like it almost felt like there was a little bit of like play in my cranks, like right when I had first started pedaling, and I think the whole cassette was like the lock ring was loose and the whole thing was like moving around a little bit, and it was probably making some noise, and it also felt a little bit funny. So when you take off the rear wheel on the FS2 Slalom, make sure you check that. Make sure your cassette lock ring is on there tight, because that was the other problem that I ran into here. But that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Just wanted to do a quick video where I was fixing a few problems that I had encountered on the FS2 Slalom e-bike. Both of which were very easy to solve. It's just kind of I had to switch the tube out for a different one that has a removable valve core so I could get the flat out tire sealant in there, and then I had to tighten the cassette lock ring back on a little bit tighter to fix up that play in the cassette where it was like wiggling around, and it was actually kind of clunking, like, because the whole cassette could kind of move around a little bit. Okay, so one other thing that I'm gonna have to change on this bike is like it's developed a rattling, and at first I thought that it was this coil shock, because these coil shocks that come on these cheap full suspension bikes, like usually if you loosen them up too much, it'll just start rattling and making lots of noise, and that kind of limits how much you can adjust them. And at first I thought that because I had been loosening this coil shock, I thought that was it, and I was kind of blaming it on that. But then I started tightening it back up, and the rattle didn't go away. But then I realized, like, I think that my kickstand has got damaged somehow, and there's like this play in it now. I think it's just because I've got the motor and this battery on this bike. There's a little bit extra weight on here now. I think the extra weight, like something right inside of here, or the kickstand pivots right here. I think this is like a rivet right here, but it seems like it's just developed some play, like something got bent out of shape in there, and now that thing can wiggle around a little bit. And then when I'm riding around on the trail, I think that's what I'm hearing, is like the kickstand is able to like slightly move and Isn't that crazy how much noise this kickstand is making? So that's another thing. I'm taking this kickstand off. Piece of garbage. But yeah, so those are a couple funny things that I had to fix on my Ozark Trail FS2 Slalom bike. Let me know in the comments if you had anything funny happen with your bike, or what did you have to fix? Or maybe yours was working smoothly. Let me know in the comments, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching the e-bike builder channel. Until next time, e-bike bubbies, we'll see you then.